Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So there is breaking news. Canelo Alvarez and the PBC have decided to part ways. Now, Mike Coppinger, some of us call him Mike Cappinger, is reporting that Canelo Alvarez and PBC mutually agreed to part ways, sources told ESPN, with 2 fights remaining on a 3-fight deal signed in June. The pact called for the star boxer to fight Jermall Charlo on May 4th. However, Canelo and PBC couldn't agree to terms. Jermall's twin brother, Jermell, had a lackluster performance versus Canelo in September, killing any brotherly revenge angle. And Jermall ended a 29-month layoff in November and failed to impress versus Jose Benavidez Jr. So there was limited demand for Canelo versus Charlo. Now, one other thing that Mike Coppinger mentioned is Alvarez could now return to DAZN, where fights against Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia are in play for May and September. Of course, the big fights for Canelo remain David Benavidez and Terrence Crawford. So that is interesting. Now, we know what a lot of people are going to say here. A lot of people are going to go right back to the Rick Glazer comment, which was supposedly that PBC couldn't afford to pay Canelo Alvarez. Although the report from Mike Coppinger clearly states that they mutually parted ways because they could not come to terms. The bottom line to this for me is Canelo wanted Jermall Charlo and he wanted the $35 million to face basically guys that he know he's going to have an opportunity to clearly beat. We talked about this yesterday on our live stream, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard every Sunday. And I've gotten to the point now where I feel like Canelo is not going to get into the ring with anybody that he feels he doesn't at least have an 80% chance to beat. That's just my personal opinion. Some people are going to say that we're Canelo Alvarez haters. I don't hate Canelo Alvarez at all. The majority of the individuals that Canelo would get into the ring with, in my personal opinion, Canelo wins. I think he's a terrific fighter. However, I do believe he's a fighter that is trying to maximize his reward and minimize his risk. Now, that is not an issue because I believe all fighters do that. But it does become an issue when it's a situation where you have the opportunity to not only maximize your purse, which would be a fight against David Benavidez, but also you have the opportunity to maximize your legacy and you're avoiding those particular fights. I have an issue with that. And that seems to be the MO of Canelo Alvarez over the last few years. Jermall Charlo was not an intriguing fight. We knew that. And Jermell, and he mentioned there that Jermell's performance, in a lackluster performance, was part of the reason why the whole brotherly revenge angle was not in play. But in reality, it doesn't really matter how Jermell performed in that particular fight. The problem is with Jermall. If Jermell had went in there and just shitted the bed or shat the bed, whatever term you're supposed to use there, I don't think it would have been an issue as long as Jermall was considered a viable threat. And right now, Jermall is just not considered a viable threat coming off of basically a 3-year layoff. Did have the opportunity to face Jose Benavidez Jr. However, he did not look great against Jose Benavidez Jr. and he did not drum up any demand. Now, the way that it was worded from Coppinger, it sounded like they had already agreed on all the opponents because he's saying that the pact called for Jermall Charlo in May. Now, there had been word out on this for a while now, for quite some time, that it was Mel and Maul. And I don't know if they ever mentioned who the third opponent would be in September, but it had been mentioned since last year, Mel and Maul, Mel and Maul. And people did not want to say that that was the case. It sounds like that's the case based off of what Mike Coppinger is saying. I told a number of people, again, on our live stream, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday, we had that live stream, that it's Maul till it's not. And a lot of people thought that somehow, some way, some shape, some form, somehow it was going to end up being David Benavidez because PBC was only going to move in a certain direction. And of course, it seems like that was the case. They were only going to move in a direction that was going to actually allow them to make money. But somehow people thought that David Benavidez was going to materialize. Wasn't going to materialize. It was never going to materialize because that's not in the cards for Canelo Alvarez. He has no desire to get into the ring with David Benavidez, whether or not that maximizes his reward as well as his risk. in his legacy. It's a shame because I think fight fans deserve big fights like this, and we're not getting the opportunity to see the biggest fights that can be made in the sport. Also yesterday I mentioned on our live stream that I felt that Canelo Alvarez, maybe Terrence Crawford fans got a point. To me, if there's a lot of money to be made, specifically in a guarantee, and Canelo really believes he's going to win a fight, he's going to take that fight. And he doesn't really give a damn about the legacy aspect of it. And when you think about Jamal Charlo, if he was really pushing to get into the ring with Jamal Charlo, clearly he doesn't care about the legacy portion of it because he knows he's going to win that fight. And everybody's going to make the excuse that Jamal Charlo hadn't been in the ring for 3 years. And therefore, there was no reason to believe that he was going to win. If he doesn't have a problem with that, then why have a problem with Terrence Crawford, who's moving up 3 weight classes? Well, you're not going to get credit for either one of them, but you're willing to take one and not the other. Why? That's what I'm starting to ask myself now, and maybe Terrence Crawford fans have a point. Maybe he doesn't really believe he can beat Crawford. I don't know if that's the case or not, but man, you got to start asking the question and questioning what this guy is doing at this point, and kind of reading the tea leaves. So it's a disappointment. The mention of him possibly returning to DAZN. I don't know if DAZN even wants to interact with him anymore. I mean, because the guy wants an incredible amount of money. And these entities are not having the opportunity to either break even or make a profit on the fight. So, I mean, he had issues with DAZN prior. I think they had a lawsuit between DAZN, and Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar has badmouthed him severely over the last several months. So I don't know how that's going to come back. I don't know how they're going to mend that relationship. Dollars talk. Jaime Munguia, I think, is a decent fight. Is it a huge fight? No, but it's definitely a more profitable fight than Jamal Charlo. And then Edgar Berlanga. So we'll see what ends up happening with Canelo Alvarez. As a boxing channel, we are going to purchase the fight. Personally, I would boycott anything that has to do with Canelo Alvarez because he's not going to give you the biggest and best fights that are available to you. And I would say boycott any fighter that's not going to give the biggest. And don't get me wrong. It's a business. And I've said this on multiple occasions. It is a business. So fighters making business decisions, or entities and fighters making decisions to wait on making a huge fight until the dollars are maximized. I don't necessarily have an issue with that, but when the dollars are already maximized, you're still not making the fights, that's a problem. That is a problem. So you guys tell me what you think in the comments section. This is interesting news. Don't forget to also go check out AM Sports Cover 4. That's our new college football channel that's growing pretty quickly, actually. And I'll pin the link to the channel in the comment section. Go check it out. Become a subscriber. And also, if you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe and smash button. And until next time, peace.